Jim Cassidy, several adjectives come to mind. Brilliant, controversial, but of the last couple of years, suspended. But that's about to change as Jim joins us in the Sydney studio. Jimmy, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
You've been show jumping for a couple of years, but that's all about to change as well.
Yeah, I've had a few hurdles to jump, but we're slowly jumping them and getting back on track to racing in January.
What's the latest scenario?
Well, I'm pretty fit. I've kept my weight pretty good, David, and as I say, I'm only around the corner now to stepping back on the track. I'll enjoy the Melbourne Carnival while it's up and running, and then after that I'll get back to the track and start riding a bit of track work and do a few barrier trials, and then naturally back into the track in January, hopefully. And
Larry Cassidy suffering similar fate at the moment in Hong Kong as well.
Yes, I was just reading and heard the other day he's had a setback, but I'm sure he'll overcome that also.
Brought up an interesting point. No Sydney jockeys rode winners at Caulfield yesterday.
No, interesting point. Normally over the Carnival you always see the Sydney boys popping up pretty quick, but the Melbourne boys, as you'd be happy, Keith, have kept them silent this week.
We've got Keith Hillier, Lee Friedman and also Max Presnell joining us from Melbourne. Great to see, hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil, not in particular order.
Something like that, David. Lee Friedman, of course, winning his 73rd Group 1 race yesterday. Congratulations, Lee.
Thanks, Keith, yeah.
And Max, Bart, Cummings and Gay. Sydney salvaged something out of the day?
Oh, yes, I think we'll salvage more than something in the coming weeks. But, Lee, yesterday I went to Caulfield to see a cigar. Alas, I was confronted by a cigarette butt. What happened to Imposter Delago?
That's right, they're calling him Imposter Delago now, Lee.
Oh, cruel.
Well, it's, you know, it's one of those things. I mean, we're right in the middle of a very hectic spring carnival. That was a high-class race, and as I said on radio this morning, I do have some doubts now that just at the moment, perhaps, the horse isn't essentially a 1,600-metre horse.
Yeah, but a week ago you had no doubts. You were, you were talking in cigar terms. This could be the best horse I've ever trained, and Stephen King agreeing with you.
I still believe that. I think he's a very high-class horse, and I think he'll show that again. But a few things went wrong yesterday. I mean, you could catalogue 3 or 4 things that happened to him during the race, including chopping his heel off too, which he's really sore on this morning. So.
More than Cordow Banks, thanks a lot.
Lee, where will you go with him now? Are you going to spell the colt, or will he soldier on?
I think he'll probably spell. I mean, I haven't made my mind up entirely, Max, but I think he'll probably spell.
Well, Lee was expecting an invasion of the Sydney 3-year-olds yesterday in the Guineas, but in fact it was a Taswegian that stole the honours. Let's look at the race.
Racing in the Guineas, and in Costa del Lago was first to bounce out from West Point and Dibblesdane, who rush up quickly to go to the lead over in Costa. Tarn-Per Lane from the outside barriers also going forward, and he'll be in front in a minute, so in Costa del Lago settling down 4th. Now Tarn-Per Lane's gone clear in the early stages, out by 3 lengths to West Point. A length and a half to Dibblesdane. In Costa del Lago now 4th, the outside of Portland Player. 2 lengths to Intergaze, Anthems and Alpha on the outside last of all. Tarn-Per Lane running to the 1,000 by 3 lengths to West Point. A length and a half Dibblesdane outside Portland Player. Now in Costa del Lago's on the back of Dibblesdane 5th. 3 lengths behind them Intergaze, 1 to Anthems and Alpha on the outside last of all. 10 lengths covered the Guineas field onto the side now. Heading to the 800-metre mark, Tarn-Per Lane's lead only half a length to West Point now. Dibblesdane the outside is 3rd, 4th on the rail. Portland Player in Costa del Lago the outside of those. Couple of lengths to Intergaze and then Anthems on the inside. And Alpha is last of all at the 600. And Tarn-Per Lane by about a half a length here to West Point. Dibblesdane in Costa del Lago getting through between horses now coming into it, and then Portland Player on the rail from Intergaze, Anthems and Alpha at the turn now, and Tarn-Per Lane the leader into the straight, a length and a half clear from West Point. In Costa del Lago popped the question on the outside, and then Portland Player. Tarn-Per Lane at the 300, tackled by Portland Player, West Point and in Costa del Lago. The favourite's got a bit of work to do here. On the outside, Intergaze is coming with a rush, and Alpha down the outside. It's Intergaze and Alpha. Intergaze and Alpha from in Costa del Lago. Intergaze and Alpha. Alpha goes home the best, and Alpha wins it by a head to Intergaze, and 3rd in Costa del Lago.
Strangely run race. The Quinella horses swooped on the pack in the straight. Alpha 11 starts, 9 wins, and gave Bart Cummings his first Caulfield Guineas for 22 years. Lee Friedman, for you, Portland Player surely emerged as a AMI Derby hope.
He definitely is. I was very happy with his run yesterday because I really thought that ground may be a bit too hard for him, but he ran an extremely good race, and I think he showed the qualities of the stayer. Also like the run of Anthems. It was an extreme.
And what about Alpha, the winner?
A good run, but yeah, a good run. He's going to be there in the Derby, but really, just looking at that again, I thought Anthems was a terrific run.
Lee, your success yesterday came with the running of the Toorak. Obviously, Poetic King made up for the disappointments of a couple of years ago in the same race.
Yeah, that was a terrific situation. I just remembered while I was talking to Jim before that actually Jim rode him in that race. That's right.
Half a kilo less, mate. I think that might have helped yesterday.
That helped. That definitely helped.
And naturally a great ride.
It was a great
ride.
Yep.
Well, we might look at the Toorak yesterday from Caulfield.
Abramagic and Lockray are making runs round the outside, followed by Shame on the rails, held up, and then Seascape hard-ridden, and Darbas is next to last when they sweep around the turn. Catlin opening and Matsky into the straight together from Brackenbury. Poetic King Park just behind them. They're followed then by Sober Suit over on the inside, and then Zuccarino. Lockray a fair way back, and so too is Seascape at the 200 now. Brackenbury fighting back. Matsky, Catlin opening. Poetic King is coming at the lot of them from Scenic Royale. Poetic King takes the lead from Brackenbury. Poetic King from Brackenbury, and then Shame, but Poetic King and Simon Marshall, they win the Toorak.
Did you happen to notice the run of Shame in that event? I'd like to say to Jim Casti, firstly, Jim, Anthems in the Cerise was unlucky, Shame was unlucky. What did you think of the performances?
Anthems' run did look very good, Max. He looked to race in patches a bit. I was just watching the replay again, and he got off the bit, sort of coming to the corner, and then he did have his traffic problems, and then Shame, well, she's just had no luck the last couple of runs. Her run was mighty, and I think, you know, she was unlucky, and I just noticed a couple of times she might have been on the wrong leg a bit there and a bump again, and, you know, if she gets a fair crack at them later on, well, she's going to take a bit of beating what she runs in.
Lee, who do you regard as the best jockey in Melbourne at present?
That's difficult to answer, Max, because I think there's at least 3 or 4 guys riding extremely well. Fortunately, 3 of them are riding for me, being Simon Marshall, Greg Hall and Stephen King.
He's got a great strike rate for. He's only a little fellow too, Poetic King, 14.3 hands. You nearly lost him 12 months ago, Lee. Yeah,
he was very ill. He had our vet found that he'd been off colour and we couldn't really get to the bottom of it, and he found that he'd had an abscess on it that was pressing on the stem of his brain, and if we'd left it another week or 2 without finding it, he probably would have died.
Well, while Lee Friedman, Gay Waterhouse and also Bart Cummings enjoyed success yesterday at Caulfield, a big day at Rose Hill for John Hawkes, but also culminating with a terrific victory with the Bandit in the Quickies. There's been no winner of the Quickies that's gone on to win the Caulfield Cup since 1970. The question now has to be posed. Let's look at the Bandit in action yesterday.
Dropping out, Quick Ransom. Alcove's got lost when they came towards the turn. She's only got about 2 or 3 behind her, including Munwar and Skybow. Prince Caleb goes to Noble Dane at the turn. Section pounces on him. Then Bullwinkle and Donut to the outside. Prince Caleb first for home. Section hits the front on the outside of him now. Wider out, the Bandit is in the clear, closing now, and then Alcove along the rail. It's at the 200, the Bandit racing the Section. Prince Caleb and Alcove, then Donut and Skybow. It's the Bandit with Alcove on the inside. The Bandit and Alcove, nothing between the pair of them. Alcove the inside, the Bandit. The Bandit won it a neck to Alcove. Skybow third.
With the lightly raced New Zealand Star, the Bandit winning there for Johnny Wheeler, 40-1 to 10-1 already for the Caulfield Cup. David, I'm glad you mentioned John Hawkes, because if you spotted those cerise colours, now that's the colours of Donar. Next Saturday in the Caulfield Cup, Donar will drop 4.5 kilos. He went up to win that race. He was anchored by his weight, and I reckon he'll win the Caulfield Cup next Saturday at about 33-1.
Well, he will be at 33-1, but Lee, how do you regard the strength of the Quickies yesterday?
The winner didn't go round in that. The winner either went round in the Caulfield Stakes or the winner was at home in its box.
So that's why you're going to get 33-1.
Right.
What about the performance of Juggler yesterday at Caulfield? It's now beaten all the top Australian horses under weight for age, and it must be the favourite for the Cox Plate.
I thought it was a smashing performance yesterday. I think if you had 2 rides in the Cox Plate, you'd either want to be on Juggler or Falante. I think it's going to be the race of the carnival, really. 2 great horses meeting like this, and his acceleration to be able to dash the way he did. Good horses only sort of really flatten out, and Lee would comment on that himself, that just the way he really dashed and flattened out the last furlong. S-King sat up on him. Thanks for coming.
Your comments, Lee?
Look, he's long been regarded by me as a top-class racehorse. We beat him with Doremus and the Queen Elizabeth, but he turned the tables in the Doomben Cup. His form this time in's been great. He beat Falante. Falante then came out and won the Epsom very easily. So I think you'd have to say Juggler will start favourite in the Cox Plate and looks the likely winner at this stage.
Surely, though, you've got to say it was a presentation for him yesterday, the way the race was run.
They can only win, Max. They can only win.
OK, 3 in a row for Juggler, for Octagonal, the 4th unplacing in 5 starts. Let's go now to the Caulfield Stakes yesterday.
They're inside the 800 now, and Crying Game up level with Magnet Bay with the rail. Juggler just behind them is in third place and travelling well, followed by Station Hand and Cheviot, Valance, Arctic Scent. Octagonal within 6 lengths of the leader now, and Beedman sets him alight before the turn, and 3 lengths to Peep on the Sly. They're bunching around the home bend now. It's Crying Game going to Magnet Bay again. Juggler on their outside. He has the upper hand round the turn. Octagonal's 3 behind him in a sprint home. Juggler takes the lead at the top of the straight for Stephen King now. From Magnet Bay, Octagonal pulls to the outside. It's Juggler at the 200-metre mark, a length in front of Magnet Bay. In third place, Station Hand with Octagonal, but Juggler, the way it's run, he sprints away. He's 3 lengths in front now from Magnet Bay and Octagonal, and Juggler. Juggler careers away to win it easily. Juggler first by nearly 4 lengths to Magnet Bay second. Now third might be Peep on the Sly, might have bloused Octagonal right on the post. But
certainly, Juggler was most impressive. Beat Magnet Bay, who's more of a 2-mile horse. Lee, what did you make of Octagonal?
Well, obviously, Octagonal was disadvantaged by the pace of the race. That's common to everybody's thinking about the race. But the only thing I didn't like about it was that Peep on the Sly is now some 3 lengths astern of him with about 200 to run and gets him on the post. Now, I think Peep on the Sly's run was probably the best cup trial of the Caulfield Cup trial of the horses that went round yesterday.
This might be the best weight for age horse around at the moment, though, mightn't it, Juggler? I mean, no horse finishes off a race as quickly as he does.
Oh, yes. Well, what about Folonte? Gee, you got.
Well, he's got all their scalps, Max. He's beaten Folonte,
he's a very,
Saintly,
very
Octagonal,
good horse.
Doremus.
We get a new champion every Saturday. Like, please, have a look at Folonte on Wednesday, if he runs on Wednesday, before you get carried away.
You think he will with 62 kilos?
Well, I think it's a good chance, but we never know with Jack Denham.
Well,
Jim, I believe Jim might be going to ride track work for Jack Denham too, David.
Oh, you've got to stick with the strength, Max. It's just a shame I'm not about now. It might have been a chance to be on Folonte, you never know. But whatever he runs in Folonte, he's going to take some beating. Don't worry about that.
Jimmy, did we see a potential back-to-back Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup double in the performance of Doremus in the Metropolitan on Monday?
Well, I thought Doremus's run was outstanding when he won at Melbourne, and obviously Lee's hoping for rain again, and it'd be great for racing if he can win back-to-back Caulfield Cups and then front up again the Melbourne Cup. You know, there's not many trainers that can do it, and I'm certainly sure that Lee can. He'll have 100% on the day, and if the rain's around, Sting out of the track, he's going to take some beating, Lee, isn't he?
He's a terrific horse. We were thrilled with the win last week because I considered he was probably only about 80% wound up, Jim, but he's come through the run well. He'll go into the Caulfield Cup very fit next week and will run an extremely good race. He's had 12 runs at 2,000 metres or beyond since a 4-year-old. He's won 9 and been placed the other 3, so his form speaks for itself.
I might just look at him in action in the Metropolitan as an outstanding performance by the Melbourne Cup winner.
Them turning the corner, Hula Flights is now getting between horses, then the Phantom Chance and Nothing Like a Dane pull to the extreme outside as they come over the rise. Fewer chosen, the leader from Western approaches. His Hula Flight getting between them, and Saintly on the outside has rounded them up very quickly. Saintly has raced clear with Hula Flight. They're fighting it out from Fewer chosen and Nothing Like a Dane coming down the outside. Saintly and Hula Flight. Nothing Like a Dane is coming fast in the last little bit, but Hula Flight on the inside has just lasted to win the Metrop from Nothing Like a Dane and Saintly in the centre.
Well, Gay had a few starters there and had to come up with a winner.
Yeah, it was a good performance to win her. Fought back, you know, good tough ride, Chris Muntz. Probably the run of the race, Nothing Like a Dane.
Okay, just one final question, Lee. Damien Oliver will be back to ride Doremus in the Caulfield Cup?
Yes, he's coming back, I believe, next Thursday, and I've told him to be at the track and ride some work.
Hey, your old buddy from Channel 7, Pat Wells, had his horse starting for the first time at Eagle Farm yesterday, and I've told you the bad news.
You didn't have to tell me it was bad news. If it involved pattern horses, it was always going to be bad news.
Okay. Lee, all the best for the rest of the carnival. To Keith and Max, thanks for joining us from Melbourne.
Good on you, David. I lost my shirt on in Costa de Lago. Lee obviously lost his coat. You can have mine, Lee. See you next week.
Obviously, I wish you'd lost that tie too. Jimmy, thanks very much for joining us. We hope that the comeback is terrific. We're all looking forward to seeing you back in the saddle.
Lovely. Thanks, Dave.
Okay, Jim Cassidy at our Sydney studio as well. We'll take a break. More to come on Sports World in just a moment.